But for this one, let's start with Gyökeres. Now, Gyökeres had an incredible season because like in the league, a lot of goals, but in total, 43 goals and 15 assists is crazy. That is 58 goal contributions in a season. That is absolutely crazy. Like if you had those kind of numbers in the championship and stuff where there's 46 games, that would be great. But you know, the Portuguese Premier League, fewer games and all that, and then in the Europa League they didn't really get 5. If they got somewhere to like the final, we'd have been looking at 65 goals from Gyökeres, and his numbers are very good. Now, recently we've had that, we don't know what's going to happen. A couple of journalists are reporting that we might get him. Others are reporting that, that fee is too hefty. But from what I've seen from him, I did tell you a couple of weeks ago, it would be my second choice after Isaac. It's looking like you're not going to get Isaac, and Gyökeres would be the one. So 43 goals and 15 assists. I know it's difficult to bring that back to the Premier League. It might be difficult, but he's already played for Coventry before. Do you think he could be the answer for us? And do you think we should be going all out? Because for me, I'm looking at it like if you have 150 million pounds to spend, I'd seriously consider dropping that 100 million on him, potentially getting a midfielder for 40 million, and maybe even a wing on loan. That would probably be my plan. I don't really want a defender myself, but if he becomes available, well and good. Do you think we should be going for him for 100 million if Isaac is not available?
Well, I tell you, 100 million sounds like very big money. Honestly, it is very big money because it's 100 million. But when you think about how much you're going to pay for players, you know, whether be it a Michael Olise or be it a Mohamed Kudus, it's going to cost you around 65 million. So that is not far away from 100 million. 100 million is no longer the big respected figure that we all, used to fear. I mean, Arsenal have broken it. Man United, have tried to break it before. Chelsea have broken it. Man City have broken it. Would I splash 100 million on Viktor Gyökeres? I would definitely go out there and splash the cash on Gyökeres. Now, of course, we're going to talk about, the scares of signing him one season in the Portuguese La Liga, then one season as well in the Championship, probably. There are some things to be concerned about. But if you're talking about prolific striker, if you're talking about the quality of a striker, Viktor Gyökeres is the guy. He's just, he's popped out of nowhere, right? He's popped out of nowhere. And I think he's just going to be, that amazing opportunity. You remember, I think it was Diego Costa, when Chelsea got Diego Costa. He's another striker that literally came out, out of nowhere, scoring a couple of goals at Atletico Madrid. Then he comes in Chelsea and boom, he starts, scoring some good goals. So I would go in for Viktor Gyökeres. I think Arsenal, and I'm happy that we've been, scouting him. I'm happy that we've been following him, according to Romano, because he's one of the strikers that if you're in the market for a striker, you've got to consider him, right? It's maybe the price. It's maybe, like Edu said, he's got 180 pages on players. So maybe in those 180 pages, there's a reason that Arsenal don't believe he's going to adapt to the Premier League, right? And maybe he's been in the Premier League at Brighton, and maybe they think he cannot fit in well for any reason. But you've got to consider him. You've got to look at him. For me, I would even rank him ahead of Alexander Isak in terms of what Arsenal need specifically. Now, obviously, if you're going to sign one player, then Isak is the better fit because he can play on both, flanks and also as a center forward. But with Viktor Gyökeres, he is your Erling Haaland. When Man City went out to sign Erling Haaland, there were so many other players. There was, there were so many players they could have got that could play across the line. They got a number 9 that, according to Roy Keane, has got League 2, football in his feet. And look at what the guy has done, in the last 5 games for Man City, but then also, last season. So for me, Viktor Gyökeres is a no-brainer. Anyone who wants a striker, Chelsea, Man United, Arsenal, Bayern, Barcelona, Viktor Gyökeres is a no-brainer. You've got to go and try, just fail, but don't fail to try on him.
Yeah, the season that he had, I watched a few of his goals. I literally, the last couple of weeks, I've been like, you know what, I'm not just going to watch the goals. I'm going to try and find a couple of games, like the games he played against young boys in the Europa League. I'm like, I want to see a full game how he does, because it's not just about goals and assists, especially in this Arsenal team. You have to be able to do a lot of stuff. The one thing that he has, the ball striking ability. Like there's people who just shoot the ball, but there's
Yeah.
the ones that whip the ball. Like I've seen Declan Rice from the free kicks and corners, he whips it and you hear that, poof, like he whips it like with so much power. He shots the goals he scored, very many different kind of goals, poacher kind of goals where it's a rebound and then the defender's so close to clearing it and then he just gets ahead of him and pokes it in. Sometimes he runs in behind and scores it from outside the box, from inside the box, a couple of headers inside the box. So he does score a few goals, both right foot and left foot as well. There's a few penalties as well there, like I think there's like 9, 10, 11 penalties in there. I don't remember how many exactly there are. I don't know if he would be the penalty taker if we joined Arsenal, but very many different styles of scoring. And as you said, Edu looks at a lot of things at Arsenal, and I think this particular guy would probably fit 160 of those pages would be positives because of the way he plays, and it's not just goals; he also gets assists on top of that, and that's probably one of the reasons that it allows Jesus. He doesn't just score the goals; he also gets involved in the assists and the build-up play, in the combination play. What's the relationship with Odegaard? What's the relationship with Saka? And I think that's very. That's probably very good for us, but the worry would be two things: the money, and would he be able to adapt? Now, he's played for Coventry before in the Championship, a very, very tough league. Now, personally for you, do you think you'd be able to adapt to the Premier League right away for us and score goals? For me, I'm starting to believe, why not? He can score goals. If he gets the chances, he can score goals.
Well, the truth is that the Premier League is a very different animal when you compare it to the other leagues. And yes, I know it's a bit of a facade when we go out there and Premier League teams are competing in Europe. They're kind of bullied and humiliated and all that. But we've got to say it. The Premier League has got a lot of intensity, a lot of entertainment, and a lot of physicality. And that's why we love it. That's why we choose to pay hundreds of thousands of money in our currencies every single season to actually watch it. So can he adapt? I think he's got what it needs to adapt to the Premier League. If I compare him to a player like Erling Haaland doesn't really score many goals on the header. So does Viktor Gyökeres. So in terms of pace, he's got the pace. In terms of his hold-up play, I think he's better than Erling Haaland in terms of his hold-up play, right? And I've seen Haaland at Dortmund, and I've seen Haaland at Man City. I can tell you Haaland is a much better spinner. He would rather, put that ball into space for him to run onto than him, getting it and probably spinning with it or bringing other players into play. So Gyökeres is a much better player there. Physicality, he is physical. He is absolutely very, very physical. You're not going to bully him. And again, it's one of the things why Mikel Arteta brought in Kai Havertz. You want a center forward. You want a forward player that can, hold up the ball, and you're sure he's going to retain it. Hence the goal we scored against Man City in the first leg of the Premier League. So for me, when you look at his attributes, physicality, he ticks that. Pace. The Premier League is pacey at times, especially in games that are a little bit open. Of course, Arsenal dominate a lot of games, so we might not be able to use his blistering pace. But at Sporting Lisbon, they're not the best team in the in Portugal. So at times, so many times they've been pinned in, and they have used his pace to run in behind. So he's got blistering pace. If we are going to, we have one of the best goalkeepers at finding runners after collecting crosses in David Raya. So pace, physicality, finishing. Again, I would say the Premier League still has some of the world's best goalkeepers. So your finishing has got to be good. And I know we've missed some good chances due to brilliant saves like Emi Martinez, Trossard, such instances. So for me, he would adapt. He would adapt really well. Would he adapt quickly? Maybe there's a question there because you look at this Arsenal team, the system we play, you've got to adapt to the system first. Before you think about adapting in the Premier League, you've got to adapt to Mikel Arteta's demands first. And Kai Havertz being a presser, he adapted quickly because in his game is built around pressing. The same as Martin Odegaard, and that's what that's the best they do. With Gyökeres, I've not seen him as a big presser, but probably that could be coached into him as a center forward. You're leading the line. You're our first defender. You're our first avenue to bring the ball back when we are not in possession. Free kicks from offsides, and then goal kicks. You should be the guy that we trust to go and close down players, maybe direct them into their weakest link so that we can press them and get the ball away from them and things like that. But I think he would adapt, maybe like 18 goals in the first season at a club like Arsenal or Man City that creates a lot.
That's just the league or all competitions?
All competitions. Yeah, in all competitions. I would say 18 in a club that creates a lot, because both of them, City and Arsenal, have very complicated systems. So when you think about the Arsenal system right now, you're going to ask yourself, how many times have we really seen a player, thread the ball through for a runner to run onto like 1v1? Actually, that happens more when Gabriel Martinelli is on the pitch. On the left-hand side, I think he's got 2 like those against Crystal Palace, missed one against Chelsea. I think he missed another 1v1, I think.
Against Wolves.
Exactly, against Wolves. So you can see that it is very, very intentional what Arsenal do. And you have to get the roadmap in your head, right? When Martinelli is on the pitch, we have through balls. When Martinelli is not on the pitch, you don't see the through balls. We are scoring different kind of goals. We're using Ben White. We are pinning ourselves on the left-hand side and doing all that kind of stuff. So can he adapt?
So that's also because teams play deep against us.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely. That's another reason. So can he get into Mikel Arteta's system? I think that would take him some time. I think that would take any player some time to go away from I'm just a number 9 and this is what I do to this is how we do it at Arsenal, and therefore this is my new job description. But the moment he learns what the job duties are at Arsenal, he would definitely thrive in the Premier League.
I hear you. Now, for me, what I've seen, the finishing, as you've said, absolutely incredible. And the way he strikes the ball, that's what is fascinating about him. Even the penalties he takes, even if a goalkeeper dives the right way, you cannot save that because it's just gone right away. He hits it with so much power, which is great. And from watching his goals at Coventry and his goals at Sporting, you can tell he's improved. Like he's the way, more, what's the word? He's more like it's like more of a killer now. Like, he gets that chance, like he's more of a killer over at Sporting. And it's just one season, but those goal returns, 43 goals and 15 assists is not easy to do. Even if it's a lucky season, that's not something easy to do. Now, the only question is 100 million release clause. Do you think it's worth it? 101 million, actually. Do you think it's worth it? Or do you think there's a way you can negotiate it?
I think it will be negotiated down. Is it worth it? I still have a lot of respect for 100 million. I still have a lot of respect for 80, 90, million. But I think you're not going to get him below 80. You can negotiate a deal between 80 to 85. I think something we saw with Darwin Núñez and Liverpool. They wanted 100 million Benfica, but then Liverpool negotiated their way around it. And in the end, they had to pay around 80 to 85. So I think you can negotiate it to between 80 to 85. 100 would be extreme. That would be very poor negotiation. Now, I know we're going to talk about some of the weaknesses and some of the threats that come with this deal. But why I wouldn't pay 100 million on him is I think there's already a lot of pressure on this guy just to replicate what he has done in his past 2 seasons. If he moves to a bigger league, that is something else. He moves to a bigger club, that is something else. So he wants to replicate what he has done. He's moved to a new environment, a new league, a new city, a new club, a new environment, and then he's got a price tag that is like 100 million. That would be a little bit for me overpaying for him, and that would actually disrupt him. With players like Declan Rice. Declan Rice, when you hear his interviews and when you listen to him, he believes he is a top player. He already believes that he's a top guy, right? And he talks about winning. He talks about Champions League. He talks about levels that he deserves to be at, and he talks about dreams. And he knows that he's the heartbeat of England in midfield. So because it's the heartbeat of England in midfield, and anyone expects England to win the Euros, definitely can play for Man City, definitely can play for Arsenal, because the job description and the responsibilities that come with that role is that you are supposed to be winners. This bunch of, this group is supposed to be winners. I think with Gyökeres, he's 25. Strikers are priming these days at around 27 there, 28 is where we've seen strikers prime. The likes of Watkins, the likes of, Benzema, they've done a lot of work at 28 plus. So I think he's going to be one of those strikers that really give us a lot of quality at 27 plus, but 100 would be a little bit an overpay. It would be a little bit an overpay. I can't lie. You cannot tell me that this guy costs the same as Declan Rice. Like, Rice has had 8 seasons in the Premier League at the top, right? So I wouldn't really pay 100 million for him. It's a crazy market, but I would say 80 to 85 million, and then you nurture him into the striker you want him to be.
Yeah, I think if it was 775, I think that would be a no-brainer. I would go straight for him right away without investing any more time, because that age 25 is now starting to head into his prime. He's already been, he's already played as a striker for a lot of years now, 5, 6, 7 years. So he's gotten used to that spot and he just wants to score goals, which is incredible. So let us know in the comment section, would you take Gyökeres? Because the Isaac deal is looking very impossible. So would Gyökeres be a second choice? And do you think he'd be convinced to move from Sporting to Arsenal if the deal was done? Do you think he'd be like, yes, I'm going to Arsenal?
I think he's waiting for a move. I think he's waiting for a move because the season that he has had, he would be a fool for him to waste another 1 year or 2 years at Sporting. Now, if he was 23, I would back him to stay. 24, I would back him to stay. But when you're 25, that is when, one, you make the money as a footballer. That's when you get the 100k contract or 150k contract at the moment, during that age. Secondly, you want to get to prime at a club where you have settled. And one of the things that have helped, players like Kevin De Bruyne, look at him and look at the time he spent at Man City, right?
Yeah.
If you are in a right project, in the right system, with the right players around and the right manager, and you are 25, you're sure by 27 you're going to be hitting those numbers, unless you suffer injuries or you fall out with the manager. But you want to prime at a perfect project, in a very, very good project. So I don't think it's going to stay at Sporting. I think Chelsea will go in. I think Maresca will try to do something with them. I wouldn't be surprised with the PSG. They always pick up on someone. I wouldn't be surprised. And I think at the moment, he's not that striker that has a preference, like Osimhen. He wants the Premier League, doesn't want to go back to France, doesn't want to Saudi Arabia. Gyökeres is one of the strikers that I'm looking at. I'm like, he can even end up in Saudi. He can even end up in the Saudi Arabia. If someone comes in with 100 million and then he's offered 300,000, I won't be surprised to see him going to Saudi Arabia. So I don't think he stayed at Sporting Lisbon. I really, it's kind of it's kind of a bad take, but we have seen these deals happen. Pato, Oscar to China, they have happened, and you're like, really, Oscar to China?
Yeah, but after playing in the Premier League, though, I feel like after you've played in the Premier League, then you can go on and play there. But obviously, for players like Sesko, we are going to see them at the Euros. But unfortunately, Zach and Gyökeres are not going to see them because Sweden is not at the Euros. But let us know in the comment section what you guys make of Gyökeres potentially coming to Arsenal. Would you pay that 100 million or not?